Lately I've been wondering, is drop rate really worth it in Project Slayers? Drop rate basically gives you more luck for boss drops. It works by adding the percentage of drop rate you have onto the percentage of getting a boss drop. So say you're trying to get a boss drop with a 0.1% chance of dropping. A 20% drop rate increase will make the drop go from a 0.1% chance to a 0.12% chance, which is only a 0.02% increase. So this raises the question, is it really worth it to go out of the way to get more drop rate when the luck increase is so small? And to answer this question, I'll be grinding tier 5 bosses and Mugen Trains with and without drop rate, and at the end, we'll compare all the boss drops and see if drop rate is really worth it. The order I'll grind the tier 5 bosses in is Akaza, Tenjin, Rengoku, then Doma. I'll do this order 3 times for a total of 12 bosses grinded. First let's start with grinding the tier 5 bosses with no drop rate. And with the first boss down, I got some pretty mid loot, but Tenjin didn't disappoint. We got our first ore, which is hopefully the first of many. Rengoku did disappoint though, dropping nothing, and Doma dropped a frost cloth. So not bad for the first boss cycle. The only problem with boss grinding is the long wait in between boss cycles. Since bosses spawn every 15 minutes, we have to wait around 8 minutes for the bosses to spawn again. On the 5th boss we got another ore and 2 daily spins. The 6th boss dropped more daily spins and some mid loot. The 7th boss dropped our 3rd ore and 6th daily spin. So far this boss cycle is really good. And with the 8th boss, we got our 8th daily spin. Definitely a big step up from the first boss cycle. This is the last few bosses until we switched to max drop rate. And with the 9th boss, I got my 10th daily spin and some mid loot. The 10th boss dropped my 4th ore and 12th daily spin. And the 11th boss dropped some more mid loot. And finally, the 12th boss gave me my 14th daily spin and even more mid loot. So in total, we got 4 ores, 12 daily spins, and no supreme, polar, or devourer items, averaging out at 1 ore per boss cycle and 1 daily spin per boss. Definitely not great, but not bad either. Now let's start boss grinding with max drop rate. The items I'll be using for more drop rate is the Ichimatsu Haori, Doma Bottom, and Yatagarasu Mask. All of these combined will give me 12.5% more drop rate, and with a few owugahara dungeon titles, I'll have 22.5% drop rate. So let's see how good drop rate is. The first boss dropped some pretty mid items. The second boss dropped a Ichimatsu Haori and 2 daily spins. The third boss dropped an ore, frost cloth, and a few mid items. And the 4th boss gave me a skinned hide and even more mid items. Not bad for the first boss cycle. The 5th boss dropped my 2nd ore and a bunch of common items. On the 6th boss I got the 4th daily spin. The 7th boss dropped my 6th daily spin and some mid loot. And the 8th boss gave me my 3rd ore. So far pretty good loot. The 9th boss only dropped a health potion. The 10th boss dropped some more bad loot. On the 11th boss I got my 4th ore. And on the 12th and final boss, I got more mid loot. In total I got 4 ores and 6 daily spins, which is the same amount of ores, but less daily spins as no drop rate. But there was a significant increase in loot compared from no drop rate. So if you're looking for lots of potions and common items, drop rate is really useful. However, it won't be very helpful for really rare items. So it really boils down to preference. Do you want a slightly higher chance to get items, or do you want to deal more damage? In my opinion, I'll still be using drop rate items. For Mugen Trains, I'll be doing 3 with drop rate and 3 without drop rate. And this time, I'll start with max drop rate. Mugen Trains are really easy now because of the way NPCs spawn in. In the first stage, all you have to do is go to the edge of the map and none of the enemies will spawn in. And for the second stage, all you need to do is camp at the edge of one of the train rooms and spam ranged moves. Then just continue on and fight the bosses and get the drops. And speaking of drops, on the first Mugen Train I got a Lantern of Despair, which is pretty rare to get. It's really good for demons because of its extra stamina regeneration. so I'll definitely be using it from now on. And of course, after getting a rare drop, I come straight back to reality and get an olive green flower Haori, and with the last Mugen Train with max drop rate, I got a dark green Haori. So out of 3 Mugen Trains, I got a Lantern of Despair and some common items, which honestly is not bad at all. Usually you won't get anything rare from Mugen Trains until you complete a bunch of runs, but I luckily got a Lantern of Despair on my first try. So let's see if we can replicate that luck with no drop rate. With the first Mugen Train, I got GU's Water Katana. Not good at all. In the second Mugen Train, I got a Mugen Train ticket and Shadow Haori. Again, pretty bad drops. And on the final Mugen Train, I got a Living Flesh and Thunder Katana. A huge step up from our previous drops. Living Flesh is really valuable because it's needed for tier 2 and 3 Devourer weapons. So it's definitely the best drop of the 3 Mugen Trains. Now let's finally answer the question. Is drop rate worth it? In my opinion, it's situational. When you are grinding tier 5 bosses, it's not as useful. But for Mugen Trains, you definitely want all the drop rate you can get. This is mainly because a lot of useful drops from Mugen Trains don't have ridiculously low drop rates. For example, Living Flesh and Orb Glaciers both have a 10% chance of dropping from Mugen Trains. With a 20% drop rate, you'll get an extra 2% added onto those chances, which gets even bigger when you are grinding during better drops weekend. So you'll definitely be getting the materials for Devourer and Polar faster with more drop rate. But for the really rare drops in Mugen Trains, like the Akaza and Enmu sets, drop rate won't be very useful, which I really don't like. In my opinion, no drops should be lower than 1%. A 1% drop is already rare enough. But when you are making drops with 0.5% and 0.1% chances of dropping, it makes drop rate useless for those drops. Even with a 1% drop, you'll only be getting around a 0.2% increase with 20% drop rate. So it'll still be a low increase. And this is made even worse in Mugen Trains. Mugen Trains only happen once an hour. And when you have drops like an Akaza set with a 0.125% chance of dropping, it makes it almost impossible for people to get. This is made a little better in Hell Mode Mugen Trains. But even then, it would still take hours and hours of grinding to get such a rare drop when Mugen Trains happen every hour. So basically, use drop rate for Mugen Trains, and for tier 5 bosses, it's optional. I would also recommend using drop rate for increased drops weekend, because the chances of getting drops is higher, which means drop rate is higher too. But anyway, that's it for the video. Sorry for such a long break in between uploads. It's been pretty demotivating seeing Project Slayers get absolutely no updates these past few months. Bye.